Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, we'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 11 of the anime series, Amaama to Inazuma. And this one overall really kind of reminded me, harkened back to what sitcoms were in the 70s for all intents and purposes. They would begin with this problem for one of the characters or a number of the characters, and by the end of that half an hour, after a couple of commercial breaks, you had a resolution and everyone was happy-go-lucky, and so none of whatever transpired in the episode would carry over into the next and things like that. Everything would just be resolved and everything would be just happily ever after by the end. And it was a mite disappointing for me because I kind of had wished we'd gotten a little more growth and depth and investigation into what was going on with Tsumugi and her friend Hana. Now, we've seen her having run-ins in the classroom before with little Mikio, this kid who accuses her on one hand of stealing her friend's clay, and then on the other he is trying to make her laugh and wants to marry her in the future and all this stuff, and he's causing problems. So we've seen that before, but this was the first time that Tsumugi's really dealing with a friend turning on her, calling her weird, not understanding where she's coming from, being very judgmental, and even going to the extent of Hana grabbing their mutual friend's hand and ushering her away. Let's not hang out with the strange girl. And there could have been a lot of really good commentary, sort of dealing with that, especially with the fact that her father, Kohei, is kind of nerdy. Kotori, in her own way, is kind of a loner in her classroom. Yes, she has Shinobu as a friend and all this kind of stuff, but I mean, most of the girls in, Kotori's classroom, she doesn't really involve herself with. They're always talking in whispers about how much she loves her lunch and everything, as we see once again in this episode. And it's interesting with the turning of the tide for Kotori, in that, when they realize, because this upcoming festival, so many other classes or grades or whatever it is are going to be doing crepe stands, well, of course, we have to do something a little unique. And hey, Kotori loves food. She has she's like the god tongue Shokugeki no Soma style of this series, where she just tastes everything and loves it and can really appreciate the flavor and the ingredients. And so they ask her, effectively, with your talents, what can you come up with? What new can we add to the menu to make this a little more, put a personal stamp on our own crepe stand and everything? And with that turning of the tide, I kind of had hoped there would be a little more slow development with Tsumugi. I wouldn't have minded if they carried it over into another episode where she's still dealing with kind of being the nerdy girl out in school and being judged and everything and having to cope with that, rather than everything just working out in the end, even though it was damn cute as all hell, of course. Anything to do with Tsumugi is the conflict very much being about this play that her class was going to be putting on. And of course, you have the one girl wanting to be Magi Girl. You have the other girl wanting to be, I guess, I'm not exactly sure, but I think sort of the Clark Kent version of the Magi Girl character, if you will, before she superpowers up by molesting, in a sense, Mr. Gali, this little fluffy pig dude. And that's who, Tsumugi wants to be in this play. She wants to be Mr. Gali, but her friend Hana, she wanted them to both share in being this sort of Clark Kent-ish character in the play, rather than, a beast for all intents and purposes, this little animal creature, which it's kind of backwards because it's children. You'd think they would think that would be cute to be a little animal, but Hana is really bugged by it, doesn't want anything to do with it, doesn't understand. I would almost even say maybe she feels shunned by Tsumugi. Maybe, in Tsumugi's basically, putting her foot down that she wants to be Gali. Maybe Hana was feeling like, well, I thought we were friends. I thought we were going to do this character together, and now you're telling me no, and maybe you don't like me, or something along those lines, or even just the fact that Hana can't wrap her mind around, how is my friend Tsumugi going to be a pig? Whatever it is. The conflict was born. And I love that Kohei, once again, going to the depths to just be supportive of Tsumugi and make her dream, make her wish of being this character come true. He got all the pink, fluffy, cottony stuff to make her costume out of. And he's really, really hopeful. He's just so hopeful. And Yagi's like, I don't know. But he's really hopeful that when Hana sees the costume, it'll win her over. It'll change her mind. It'll answer that level of where she can't fill in the blanks in her own mind to put it together, what it's going to amount to. And when she sees it for herself, he's desperately hoping everything works out. And that's very much how it does work out. And I really liked that turn in Hana's character, her reaction to Tsumugi, and Tsumugi just pensively waiting to see what she thought. And as soon as she sees Hana's smile, she smiles too. And she's like, and guess what? You can even do the thing that they do in the show where if you put your hands in and, all this kind of stuff, we can pretend you're becoming the Magi girl or whatever it is. And for that, it was absolutely adorable. I thought it was even that much more hilarious. I guess I can't complain that it was all resolved by the end. For the simple fact that, two other kids in her class decided to be gally as well. For all of the trouble, for all of the problems that arose, and two other kids are going to be the same freaking character on stage at the same time, I might add, putting on their little display. So that was absolutely hilarious. And I loved, once again, all the characters coming together, seeing Yagi involved once again, more touchstoning on his having made sweets, and he is just flustered as all hell as they're trying to, mix up the flour or whatever it is to make the crepes. And Katori has very much invited everyone over, even Shinobu, who brought the ingredients, as a taste testing party in a sense. She calls it a party for Tsumugi's benefit, but it's very much about testing out this crepe, that she wants to potentially give to her classmates for the crepe stand, and sweet potatoes and cream and all that kind of stuff. But Ihagi's sitting there watching like he's got OCD, like, you're not doing it right, come on. And then he just has enough and he has to go over and start mixing it himself, whipping it up himself, and you have Shinobu giving him the stink eye and everything like that. It was just hilarious as usual, adorable as usual. Again, I kind of hoped that we could have had a little more depth and growth in the conflict that Tsumugi was facing. But I mean, when it comes to kids, you never know. Sometimes it'll be a long-lasting thing. Sometimes it'll be something that changes with their mood. Have a nice snack and then the kid's in a better mood, whatever it is. And so the fact that it was all resolved by the end of the episode, I can't really complain because it was that much more enjoyable with all the twists and turns, finding out other kids were going to be gali, and that all of that strife and all of that worry on Tsumugi's part was wasted, really. And her, I thought it was hilarious how she keeps bringing up that Daddy doesn't want to talk about anything but food. He doesn't want to talk about girls, just food. And like, for the other characters to hear her putting it that way, I wondered what was going through their minds. He doesn't want to talk about girls, like, why is Tsumugi interested in her dad talking about girls all of a sudden, not really necessarily knowing what it was all about. And I love that Yagi's like the voice of reason, saying, dude, your dad thinks about you all the time. It's not the food he's thinking about. He's thinking about something to do for you, to make you happy. And Tsumugi's like, sorry, Tsumugi was a bad Tsumugi. So it's like, once again, an enjoyable episode. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 11 of Amaama to Inazuma, if you've seen it as well. If you found there to be any conflict along similar lines as I mentioned, wishing they would have stretched it out a little more, the conflict Tsumugi was going through. If you thought the episode was just pitch perfect, love it or hate it, anything goes in the comments below. Just love having that conversation. And so yeah, otherwise I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.